It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Mount St. Joseph Lions assistant softball coach, Coach DeeDee Moore. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college softball?
Yeah, so that all started when I was a little girl. I wouldn't say that I definitely knew that I was going to be coaching college softball, but I grew up in a very sports-oriented family and knew that I definitely wanted to teach and coach at some level, but I wasn't just quite sure what level that would be. And here I am. I'm fortunate enough to be coaching at the collegiate level.
Of course, what was your time like as a college athlete going to Northern Kentucky to play softball?
Yeah, so I started out at Northern Kentucky University. We were Division II at the time when I first went to NKU, and great experience. My sophomore year, we were a game away from making it to the Division II College World Series. We got beaten our super regionals, and just an overall great experience. However, I was there during the transition period from Division II to Division I. That was not planned. I would say that brought some of the hardest times in my athletic career. Just going from essentially being on top to being at the bottom, being the low man on the totem pole. But definitely some really cool experiences at the Division II level, and then getting to play some of the big dogs at the Division I level. That was it's pretty cool being at Mississippi State on a Friday night, or getting to play at the University of Louisville and Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast. Those were some very cool experiences as well.
What was that experience like getting to represent Northern Kentucky and getting to put on that uniform?
Yeah, so I mean, very, very fortunate for that opportunity. I grew up and I played for the Louisville Lady Sluggers based out of Louisville, Kentucky. And I had some former coaches and players that were in front of me that had a great experience and left their mark on NKU's program. And being able to kind of follow in their footsteps and get a taste of what their college careers looked like and being able to put on that same jersey, that was very special to me. And it was definitely a great experience.
As a player, what was that transition like from going from Division II to Division One?
I will say, I think I went through a midlife crisis at about 20 years old. Like I said, we were at the top of Division II, making it, we hosted a super regional in 2012, and then we went to winning 11 games that next year, being our first year in Division One. It was tough. You're grinding just like every other college athlete. You're putting in the same work. You're going to weights and study table and individuals and practice, and you're doing all the same work as everyone else. But we were essentially, playing at the Division One level with Division II athletes. So that was tough. But like as I mentioned earlier, the opportunity to get to play at some of those well-known stadiums and against some of those well-known teams, it was pretty cool, and definitely an experience that I didn't think that I was going to have in my athletic career, but I was fortunate enough to go through that midlife crisis at around 20 years of age and find the good in it as well.
As a player, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
I would say as a player, definitely that 2012 season where we won our regional and we went to supers. That was a cool year as a team. We fought very, very hard, and we weren't really supposed to be there as a team, but we were. Um, and so making it to super regionals that year, that was cool. I was first team all conference that year in the GLVC, so that was a really cool experience. I think I led our team in sacrifices that year, but also it, it was kind of funny. You would think moving to the Division I level that I would have been a worse hitter, but I became a better hitter at the Division I level than I was at the Division II. And I led our team offensively my junior and senior year, and actually became a little bit of a power hitter towards the end of my career. I think I ended my senior year hitting 7 home runs that year. And I was a kid that came out of high school that wasn't hitting home runs. I think I hit one my entire high school career that started as a 6th grader. So in Kentucky, for those that don't know, at the time you could play in middle school. So I played my high school career, all through middle school and all through high school, and only hit 1 home run. So I think I became a little bit more of a power threat towards the end of my college career.
Of course, for you, what was that transition like getting to become the grad assistant for your alma mater?
Yeah, it was a very unique situation. So as I mentioned earlier, I was a education major. So when I finished my playing time at NKU in 2014, I still had to complete my student teaching in the fall. And I was able to essentially, first off, I was named a student coach. And then starting in the spring of 2015, I was a graduate assistant. And it really opened my eyes as to what it takes kind of behind the scenes. As a player, you just kind of show up and you do what you're told, and you show up to practice, you show up to games, you show up to the bus, or you show up to the flight. But when you're kind of the brains behind the bunch that is organizing everything, there's a lot more to it than just the sport, for sure. And so I think it definitely opened my eyes to what coaching at the collegiate level stored, not just on the field, but also behind the scenes as well.
As a grad assistant, what were some of the things that you learned to then help you to take that next step to become an assistant coach?
I mean, I would definitely say the on-field planning of practice and game management. But as I mentioned, just the planning of what it takes to go on a weekend road trip, of the food and the hotels, and making sure that we're at the hitting facility at the correct time, and just being more organized in that way. Those are things that I wasn't really made aware of before I started coaching, but I think that GA year really helped me with that, for sure.
What was that feeling like when you did get that full-time assistant coaching job at Mount St. Joseph's?
Oh, it was definitely the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I didn't know it at the time. I was just a young kid, looking for a coaching opportunity. And it was definitely all thanks goes to my previous coach, Coach Kathy Stewart, who put in a good word for me, and then to our head coach here at the Mount, Beth Godowis, who was willing to give me that opportunity at such a young age, and really coming straight out of college with 1 year of experience, and just eager, gave me a chance to, be eager and come in and help her program.
Of course, in that first year, what was that transition like being so young and close to those athletes? What was that transition like for you?
I would definitely say being young, it brings a lot of perks, but it brings a lot of challenges as well, because you have to gain the respect of those players that are essentially the same age as you. So that is a challenge in itself, but I think it's a blessing, because you're young enough at the time, you can connect to them, you understand the challenges and what they're going through on a daily basis. But I would say it was a pretty good transition, and it was very, very cool, because Beth has given me the opportunity to step in and have a lot of say, and she taught me a lot about just day-to-day operations from a softball standpoint, and from just operating and building a culture. And that was definitely a very cool opportunity at a young age.
Of course, for you, what was that experience like getting to step onto that softball field now as a coach and not as a player?
I thought it was going to be a whole lot harder than what it is. Being a coach definitely fills that void of not playing anymore. As some of my previous players, they would say I'm a washed up has been, but it definitely fills a void, but at times it's more fulfilling because you get to live out and see the progress of 20 to 25 student athletes, and you see them come in as freshmen, and you see where kind of the starting of their career, and where they grow, and how much they mature, and where they end their careers. That's the fulfilling part for sure, not just on the softball field, but in the classroom and in life.
Of course, while at Mount St. Joseph, what have been some of your accomplishments as an assistant coach?
So over the past 5 years, I would say we've truly had over the past 5 to 6 years, we've done a great job with our program. We've had multiple regular season championships, three or two conference tournament championships. We've been to two regionals. We've been to the program's first ever super regional. In 2019, I was very fortunate to be awarded the NFCA Assistant Coach of the Year nomination, or award through the NFCA. So that was pretty cool as far as an individual award. But overall successes, I mean, it definitely includes the team successes. We've had, I think I wrote down 4 back-to-back, I guess 4 seasons in a row where we've had over 30 plus wins. And, just seeing that success culminate on the field through the players' hard work, that's been a true success.
Of course, as a coach, what has it been like guiding that team to those regional championships?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You see the players and what they go through on a daily basis, and you get to that point of the season and you've played 45, 50 plus games, and they're broken down, they're tired, they're hurt, and they're pushing through because they care so much and they want it so bad. Obviously it's a privilege to be there, and but just getting to see them, push through and fight together. I'll never forget it when we were playing last year in New York in the regional tournament, and our center fielder, she had a torn labrum and could barely throw, but these kids wanted it so bad. I remember there was a ball hitting the gap, and she literally laid out for it and flipped it to our right fielder so that they could get it in quick enough so the girl wouldn't go to 3 on on what should have just been a double. So just the fight that they had, and you can't match that. And you can't tell a team how to have it. They have to develop it, and seeing the play and seeing all of their heart and hard work in those situations, and those championship situations, was incredible.
Of course, what has that been like, obviously getting to help them and take them to the postseason?
Yeah, so early on in my career, the program, it had been a few years since they had got the opportunity to have that postseason feeling, whether that was in conference play or in an NCAA tournament, and kind of helping them figure out what we need to get there. What do we have to do on a daily basis to get there, whether that's in the weight room or in individual work and teamwork. What do we have to do to get to that spot and stay at that spot? So it's been, I would say early on, it was definitely a grind. And now, being up there where I would say we like to be, it's still a grind because there's challenges that come up daily and yearly that we have to overcome as a team. And I think this year, coming in second in our conference tournament, I think it was really good, not only for us as coaches, but also for our players to realize, hey, it's not a given. Making it to the NCAA tournament, it's a privilege, and it's not a right. It's not a guarantee every year, and it's a privilege that you have to work your butt off to get to. And that's where we are for this upcoming off season and moving into the fall. Like, nothing is handed to you, and you're going to have to work to get where you want to be, for sure.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped to build for Mount St. Joseph's?
Yeah, so I would definitely say that I've helped with Coach Gotterwis and our support staff and our volunteers to help build a winning culture here at the Mount, but also to develop good young women. we preach this every single day. Now, does that mean that, they don't have challenges and we don't have challenges as a coaching staff to overcome at times? Absolutely. But that's our big motto is we're developing good young women that, we can send out into the workforce and we know that they're going to do what is right and what is expected and go above and beyond in all that they're supposed to do. So it definitely, it starts off the field and then it moves on to the field once we build that culture.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you face each week?
Yeah, so I would definitely say our top competition in the conference is Transylvania University down in Lexington, Kentucky. And, so Transylvania, Hanover, Franklin, a lot of Indiana, Ohio, and then Kentucky, we're adding Berea College. Okay, they will be the second Kentucky team that's in our conference starting in 2025. So very spread out between Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. And I would say with the Mount, where it's always a good game with multiple teams in our conference, but Transylvania, just over the past several years, has been our biggest rival. We've been neck and neck at the top, and so definitely Transylvania is on our radar every year, as I'm sure we're on theirs.
Of course, what is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Transylvania comes to home?
Oh, it's rowdy. It's definitely rowdy down on River Road. So our field's located right along the Ohio River, and we have minimal seating, but we have a big hill that's out in left field, and so the hill gets filled up, and you'll see people out there with blankets and chairs, and they get pretty rowdy. We get our baseball and our football team down behind left field, and they park their trucks back there, so it can be a fun atmosphere, especially on a Thursday or a Saturday night when we're playing some of the top teams in our conference, for sure.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, so for the recruiting process, I would tell, someone listening to this that is in that situation, when you get in high school, that's when it starts to become real. And, typically kids get on our radar as a freshman and a sophomore, and we're out all summer and all fall, watching and evaluating and, seeing if these kids could be a good fit in our program, not just from a softball standpoint, but from an academic standpoint and from a personnel standpoint. And, it's a long process. So we watch them for a couple of years, typically get them on a visit towards the end of their sophomore year or the beginning of their junior year. And then, hope to be in the mix when they make that final decision. As with softball, a little different than some sports, that commitment time can be a little earlier than some other sports. We already have 2024 student athletes committed, and looking to round out that class in the next few months. So the recruiting process is a little bit earlier than some sports, for sure.
Of course, as an assistant coach, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes when out on the road recruiting them?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously we're looking for talent. I mean, that's a given. Everyone knows that, but we look for some of those intangibles. Are they a good teammate? How do they handle adversity? Are they coachable? What type of person are they, when they strike out? Honestly, we like to see a student athlete kind of struggle a little bit when we come out to watch them play, because we get to see how they handle that. Do they walk in the dugout and throw their bat? Well, if so, we're going to cross them off the list real quick. We also get to watch their parents kind of from afar, and how are they going to represent the university as well? As much as we focus on the student athlete wearing the uniform and wearing, MSJ softball across their chest, the parents are wearing MSJ softball across their chest as well. So are they going to be, good ambassadors for the university and the program as well?
Of course, what does that official visit look like for those prospective student athletes coming to MSJ?
Yeah, so typically a student athlete, a visit day will look like they'll get here in the morning, they'll take a tour, they'll meet with admissions and financial aid. Some may choose, we give them the option if they want to set in on a class with some of our players. so they can have that choice as to whether or not they choose to do that. Then we typically have lunch, and they eat with some of our players. And then we end the visit. If it's a day visit, we'll end the visit with a coach's talk, a photo shoot, and then touring the field. Now, if it's an overnight, then that could look a little bit different depending on when they visit. If it's a time when we're practicing or lifting or have something that they could see like that, it would be very similar to what I just said, but they would stay with one of our student athletes on campus. They would have a team event that night. And then obviously the next day they would either attend practice or, a fall game or whatever we have going on during that time.
Of course, as an assistant coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen getting to put on that MSJ softball uniform for the first time?
Oh, it's super cool. I mean, they're all jazzed up. They have their numbers. They're coming up to you, Coach. Does my jersey look all right? Is it tucked in right? How's my braids look? That it's so cool to see. Just the excitement that they have for stepping on the field for the first time in an MSJ uniform. But I think sometimes as coaches, we forget how much, has went into their recruitment process, and, how much time and effort that they've spent on sending emails and, taking visits and planning college showcases and going to camps. And, at this point, when they put on that uniform, their dreams are coming true. So, and you can definitely just see the excitement in their eyes.
How is it like getting to see those freshmen blossom into seniors and getting to put on their uniform for the last time as a senior?
Oh, I hate thinking about them putting on their uniform for the last time, but hopefully at that point we've developed them, and they're ready to go out and do what they're set out to do. But it's tough. I think our sport is very tough for that last game or that last time them putting on the uniform, just because if you're doing it right, your season is ending when school is already culminated. It's already ended for the year. And so, season ends, you have your end of the year meeting, and then the kids go home. They're out for summer. So that's tough for us. We see these guys every single day, and then it just abruptly ends. So definitely a tough time seeing them put it on for the last time, but knowing that we've helped, ready them for the next chapter.
As a coach, what is it like getting to see them go from being softball players for MSSU to then being professional softball players or even going into the corporate world?
Yeah, so obviously at the Division III level, we don't have a ton of players that go on and get to play professionally, but knowing and keeping that relationship and seeing them go into their first jobs, and or maybe even grad school or doctorate school. I mean, it's knowing that we've helped develop them and know that they're going to make it through and set a good example for Mount graduates, essentially. So I think we're very fortunate that we get to continue those relationships that we've built over their 4 years. And I would say that we have a good relationship with the alumni, and our alumni game is a big hit in the fall every year. So it's always fun to see the 25 to 30 alumni that come back and get to tell their stories of their playing days, but also get to catch up and see where they're at right now with their families and their careers, and where they're continuing to head.
Of course, how is that like getting to see your softball players getting into college coaching and coaching after their playing career like you have?
Yeah, so it's very fulfilling when you see your former players out coaching and giving back to the sport and the community. I think of one in particular. She would always, I don't want to say question, because she was a great player, and a great player to coach, but she gets it now. She understands, why I kicked her out of practice, or, why I was so hard on her, because she's dealing with the same athletes, that she essentially was. So it's fun to kind of hear their stories, and they get to come back and say, you know what, like, I might not have thought you were right at that point, but I see where you're coming from, because I'm dealing with the same craziness from a coaching side of it now.
Of course, what are some of your future plans for the MSU's softball program moving forward?
Yeah, so here at MSJ, I would say with Coach Gotterwis, we're always trying to fix something, make something new, build something. Thank goodness that her and her husband are handy people because I can barely work a hammer. But we always have a vision for something. I would say in hopefully the near future, our big goals would be to enhance our seating at the softball complex. We would like to build a deck in center field and kind of use that for a fundraising purpose or for an alumni engagement to, seats, we can sell seats out there for people to come back and have a good view from the outfield. And then just, continuing to build that winning culture and to be at the top. It seems like the past couple years, we always have that one or two games per season that, maybe we're not on our A game and we take a loss that we shouldn't have taken. And, from the playing field side of it is just continuing to take care of business and beat the teams that we need to beat to, have a chance to not only win our conference tournament, but to possibly get an at-large bid if we need it.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college softball players?
Yeah, so college or high school athletes, be kids, play multiple sports, don't get burnt out on softball. We're seeing it a lot. We're seeing a lot of overuse. We're seeing a lot of injury. And, so be a kid, play multiple sports, take a little time off. I know you don't hear it a lot from a coach telling you to take time off, but you need to. You need to rejuvenate. You need to recover, and be a kid. Also, from a high school standpoint, don't make your list of schools that you're interested in so big that the recruiting process is overwhelming for you. Try to keep it narrowed down to schools that you're truly interested in, and don't let the process overwhelm you. It should be fun. It should be, a great time of your life, not something that you're just trying to hurry up and get done with. So embrace that recruiting process and that time of your life for sure.
What advice would you give those freshmen entering their first year of collegiate softball?
Be ready for a lot of change. Be ready for a lot of hectic, crazy weeks where, you're busy and you feel like you can't catch your breath. But if you're prepared for that and you know that that's going to happen, then I think you can attack that time and be ready for it versus letting that transition phase and the time of, being so busy, don't let it attack you.
What advice would you give those seniors that are looking to play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or overseas?
I mean, if you're given that opportunity, then, obviously you're a very special player and take full advantage of it if given that opportunity. And, if you're able to play overseas, I would definitely, don't grow up too quick and miss out on an opportunity and an opportunity to make relationships and play the sport you love.
What advice would you give those collegiate athletes that are looking to get into coaching after their collegiate career?
Yeah, just realize that it's not just the X's and O's of softball. You're coaching young adults and you're coaching them to be better people. You're coaching them to be better students. And, and then I think last you're coaching them on the softball field. So I know that a ton of my work and our work as a coaching staff, it comes in our office and not necessarily in between the lines. We're coaching kids how to handle making that first bad grade that they've never had before, or how to manage and time, manage their time and how to just deal with what life throws at them. So I think those that are going into coaching, you have to realize that it's more than just coaching the sport that you love. So you're coaching young adults.
What advice would you give those coaches looking to become assistant coaches in college softball?
Yeah, so those that are going to be an assistant coach, be a sponge. Learn from everyone you come in contact with, but be eager and show that. As softball coaches and out on the recruiting trail, we work a ton of camps, and at times I I kind of step back and, I try to get other people to demo what they're doing, because I want to see, hey, is there something that we could add to be better? And but on the flip side of that, you got to be eager, and you got to, want to work. It's time consuming, and if you do it the right way, you're going to be tired, and you're going to work way more than 40 hours a week. So be a hard worker and be eager to be better in all that you do.
What advice would you give those people such as yourself that were looking to coach at their alma mater?
Yeah, so coaching at your alma mater, especially right out of college, it's tough just because of, being there with potentially players that you played with. That's hard. That's hard to gain that respect as a coach, with those that you took the field with. But it's also a very cool experience, and something that can't, no one can take away from you, is that that you shared that same love for the jersey that they put on. So it's definitely a different connection coaching at your alma mater. But don't be opposed to branching out as well, because you can take what you learned at that school and take it elsewhere as well.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the Mount St. Joseph's softball program at?
Sorry, what was that again?
Where can my listeners find Mount St. Joseph's softball at on social media, and you at on social media?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. MSJ underscore softball, and then you can find me as DeeDee Mooris on Instagram and Twitter. So feel free to reach out with any questions or anything that you may need.
Thank you again, Coach DeeDee Mooris, for your interview, and best luck in your future as the Mount St. Joseph's assistant softball coach.
All right, thanks so much, Brandon.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach DeeDee Mooris, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.